Okay, let's continue our discussion of rigid body motion. Last time we introduced inertia tensor. Let me go back a few slides. Yeah, here and we wrote down an expression for the intrinsic angular momentum of the rigid body, which was expressed in terms of the inertia tensor and the angular momentum, or sorry, angular velocity omega k, omega of that rigid body. Okay, now today we'll start by writing what the kinetic energy is if I express this in terms of the angular velocity. Okay, that's the task we have in front of us. So let me write down. We are looking at the kinetic energy of a rigid body. Okay, let me go back and see if I can. Yeah, here for example, if you see when we were looking at the angular momentum, the velocity v we wrote down as capital V plus omega cross r. Okay, and yeah, here for example, the first line. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use. And V was the capital V was the velocity of center of mass. I mean, we are going to take origin at the center of mass of the rigid body. So capital V would denote the velocity of the center of mass of the rigid body in the space system. Okay, so let me write down the kinetic energy T is half mv square, and I should sum over all the particles. Okay, if you wish, you can put an alpha here and alpha here, where alpha runs over all the particles in the body. But because I'm putting the symbol sigma, I make it implicit. I don't want to clutter. Okay, so this is nice. Now I can write down this as half m v, the velocity of the center of mass, plus omega cross r. Okay, where the small r is measured with respect to the origin of the body axis. Okay, that's what it is, square. Okay, if I open this up, I get half m v square plus m v dot omega cross r. Okay, from here, and then you get the third piece, which is just the square of this. So you get plus half m omega cross r. Okay, so that's what we have, omega cross r square. So I've got three terms, 1, 2 and 3. Let's look at the first term. You see, the capital V can come out of the summation because that does not carry any label telling which point it is in the rigid body. Okay, so this is a constant which will come out, and it will become the summation over m would become the total mass. So your first term becomes half. Okay, now I have a problem. If I write capital M, it looks like angular momentum. Half okay, anyway, let's put mu v square. Okay, mu is the total mass, not the reduced mass. Okay, that's fine. Then look at the second term. Now here you have capital V and capital omega, which can come out of the summation because they are independent of which point you are talking about in the rigid body. Okay, but r is the coordinate of the points and the summation runs over it, so that one I cannot take out. But the form in which it is written right now, I cannot pull it out. So what I'll do is I'll play around a bit with these dot and cross products and try to see if I can do something. Okay, so that's the goal. So I hope you already know this, you might have learned in your bachelor's, that a cross product, let's say you have A cross B. Okay, and if you look at the ith component of this is written as given by epsilon I j k A j B k. Okay, I hope I'll have some time to talk about tensors and then I'll talk more about these things. But in case not, then please study on your own. So anyhow, this is the this is how you write down the components of a cross product, and that is what I'm going to utilize here. So let's look at v dot omega cross r. So you have v dot omega cross r okay, which means this is vi, then omega cross r I. Okay, there is a summation over I. Now because this is what dot product is, then you have vi. Now ith component of omega cross r would be epsilon I j k omega j r k. Okay, let me write down vi here and remove this. Okay, so that's the quantity we have. Now what I want to do is have r outside. Okay, so what I'll do is create a cross product involving v and omega and then have r outside. So what I'll do is I will okay, fine, let me just relabel the indices. So I will start calling as k and k I will start calling as I. So this I will rewrite, you know, these, because these all these I j k are right now summed over, right? There's a summation over them, so they are all dummy and I can just rename them, there's no problem. So I get epsilon okay, k j I, then you have, sorry, that doesn't help at all. I was no, that's not something I should do. I will just do one thing, I will permute the index I and k. Okay, I mean I'll cyclically permute all these things, so I'll get epsilon k I j and then you have, let me write rk first, this one, then you have vi, then you have omega j, which is same as r dot v cross omega. Is that correct? You see, this is what the definition of A cross B is. See, this k is the free index, which means this gives you the v cross omega kth index. So this quantity here is v cross omega kth component. Okay, and then you have rk times this thing summed over k is the dot product, right? So r dot v cross omega. Okay, so I have freed up r from v and omega, which means my second term becomes the following. So I have summation m r dotted into v cross omega. Okay, and because the center of mass is at r equal to 0, this quantity is equal to 0. Okay, because this is what makes it 0. Okay, summation r is 0 for the center of mass, and this is going to give you the center of mass if you divide it by the total mass. Okay, that's good. Now let's look at the last term, which involves omega cross r square. Okay, let's go to the next page. So third term, this involves omega cross r square. Okay, which is same as omega cross r ith component, and again omega cross r ith component, and you have a summation over I, and that is what the dot product is. Okay, but then I use this thing using epsilon tensor, the Levi-Civita tensor. You get omega, no, let's show epsilon I j k omega j r k, then you have epsilon I l m omega l, and then r m. Okay, that's nice. Now let me write it down like this: omega j times epsilon I j k epsilon I l m, then you have r k r m, and then you have omega l. I hope all is good here. Let's check. I j k, so I is here repeated, so I is dummy, k is repeated, k is dummy, m is repeated, m is dummy. So what is also j and l are repeated here, but if you look at only this piece, let me call it some quantity I, and what are the indices it is carrying? It is carrying j, and then it has an l. Okay, others are contracted within this this piece. So with this I can write omega cross r square as omega j I j l omega l. Okay, good. This I j l is again a second rank tensor because it has two indices, and these indices transform as vectors, and that's why it's a second rank tensor. This is nice. Now I want to know more about what IJL is. Let's look at IJL. IJL, as I've defined, let me use one identity. I'm sure you are aware of it, but let me write down IJL ILM. So these are two Levi-Civita tensors, and these indices, first index in both are contracted. Okay, so this is a quantity which has only 4 indices and not 6. So it's a rank 4 tensor because there are only 4 free indices in here, and you know epsilon is fully antisymmetric under interchange of any two indices. Okay, so if I interchange I with j, it picks up a minus sign. That's what one thing you know. And I hope you are also aware that, even if not, it doesn't matter to us, but probably you are aware that epsilon is a invariant tensor. So what we expect is that the answer will be a rank 4 tensor, which will also be invariant and will also be antisymmetric under interchange of j and l and m. Okay, but at any rate, here is the answer of this quantity. So you have delta j with l, then delta l with m. This cannot be the answer because this is not antisymmetric under JL interchange. Sorry, what did I do? Sorry, this is completely wrong. Oh, okay. This should have been k. That's why we had a problem. I, j, k, I, l, m. Okay. So j with l, that is fine. That was good. Then k with m. And to make things antisymmetric under JK interchange, I should have J with M and K with L. Okay, let's check quickly whether it is intersymmetric. If I interchange JK, on the left hand side I'll have a minus sign. Let's see whether I get here also. So if I interchange J with K, you will get the first term will become KLJM, which is what you have in the second term, but there's a minus sign. And you can check yourself that this term turns into the first term. So there will be an overall minus sign, which means the antisymmetry property is getting reproduced. Okay, at any rate, let's use it in above expression. So my IJL, this new quantity, is what is it? Is delta JL delta KM minus delta JM delta KL. Okay, and then you have RK RM. Let's make the contractions. So you have delta JL, then you have delta KM. When this is contracted with RK RM, it will make it R square. Okay, because this will become RK RK, and there is a summation over K, so that's R square minus delta JM contracts with RM makes it RJ, delta KL with RK makes it RL. Okay, and you see this is the same thing as you saw before, which means that your I is moment of inertia tensor. Okay, inertia tensor, sorry, not moment, inertia tensor. That's our inertia tensor. Okay, nice. So what's our kinetic energy now? The kinetic energy T has become half mu v square. So that's the kinetic energy due to the motion of the center of mass. So motion of the rigid body as a whole when it is translating. Plus there was another piece which has dropped out because of our choice of origin being at the center of mass. Okay, if you don't do that, if you don't make that choice, then that term will be present. It will not be 0, which was here, the second term. And the third term is half. You can check, you have omega cross R square here. Okay, and then what we had originally was half m omega cross R. So I have to have half m in here. So you have half omega, where is omega? Omega j. Then, sorry, maybe I should put a prime here. Okay, because the IJL, the thing which has tensor, which is inertia tensor, has also summation over the masses, right? Okay, so now I bring in this becomes IJL and omega L. Okay, that's your kinetic energy. And if you want to construct the Lagrangian, your Lagrangian will be just T minus the potential energy here. Okay, and the potential energy will depend on your location of your center of mass and the orientation of your rigid body, which will be given by the Euler angles, which we have talked already in one of the previous videos. Okay, so that's for the kinetic energy, and we have again seen that inertia tensor appears here as well, and we can express nicely our kinetic energy as product of inertia tensor and the angular velocities. Okay, we'll continue more on rigid bodies in the next video.